Yo, what's up everybody? It's Murk here, and first and foremost, Happy New Year. Hope you guys all had a good holiday season. I'm sure you're wondering how my Christmas was, and it was good. I enjoyed it, had fun. And welcome to NPL Season 6, Week 2. So, once again, right after taking the L to Zazo, we get another very tough opponent, and it's none other than Jolt, coach of the Toronto Staraptors, the commissioner of the league, a good friend of ours, and just an overall very, very tough competitor. He should have an NPL championship under his belt, but you know, bullet seed. And he's just a very tough opponent. He's a perennial, what am I saying? Yeah, he's a perennial playoff contender. He made it every single season aside from last one where he got hacked to pieces. And he's just a very smart builder. He's a very good player, and it's just a cool dude, so make sure to go check out his channel. I will link it down below. And that's enough saying nice things about him. So Jolt is, he's 1-0 right now. I think he 4-0'd or 5-0'd Carney, so he's sitting pretty. This is an out of division matchup, so we are not going to be seeing him again unless we get pretty deep into playoffs. I think that's how it works. But yeah. He's good, and his team is Megalopony, Latios, which is Latios Z-Move, Azumarill, Nidoking, Metagross Z-Move, Whimsicott, Mandibuzz, Electros, Doublade, Gastrodon, and Talonflame. And my team is still the same: Jirachi, Megaladios, Sylveon, Terrakion, Crocodile, Roserade, Mantine, Jolteon, Licky, Swellow, Mismagius, and Torkoal. So I'm actually going to be making some transactions, which I will tell you probably at the beginning of week 3. But yeah, that's a thing. So looking at these two matchups, once again, just like my match with Zazo, the team matchup is extremely volatile because both of us can bring pretty much any of the 11 or 12 mons on our team, just because the matchup is extremely even and there's a creative way for both of us to check each other's big threats. So on his side, the biggest threats to me are Megalopony, Metagross, Doublade, and Talonflame, and a little bit Nidoking and Azumarill. Latias is annoying. Whimsicott, Mandibuzz, Electros, Gastrodon, all annoying mons, but they can be dealt with much easier. Lopunny is probably the biggest threat since it's the most likely to sweep me. Metagross is a very difficult Pokemon to switch into since it is a core breaking type thing. And Talonflame can just straight up wreck my team with a Swords Dance set, and I have to just play aggressively around it. Also, things like Doublade are very good against the team I have to build, because basically I have to bring a Choice Scarf Mon to check his Megalopony, and whatever I lock myself into, probably a fighting or flying type move, Doublade eats that up and then has a setup opportunity. So I had to make sure that I could deal with a +2 Doublade at any time in the match. I had to make sure I could revenge kill Lopunny, and I had to make sure that I had ways to switch into Lopunny, it proved difficult to do because it's a hard mon to switch into, and I don't have any hard counters to it. So that was all difficult. Metagross, I don't really have a switch into, so I have to get creative with it and just try and pressure it. Things on my matchup that look very nice: Jirachi is a great support Pokemon. Terrakion is going to be my offensive check to Megalopony. Spoilers. Crocodile is very nice in the matchup to get up rocks and pressure his team. Megaladios is the biggest threat to his team. An offensive Megaladios has the potential to 2-hit KO his entire team unless he has extremely specially defensive Pokemon on it. So that is the biggest threat. Then I do have a lot of other pretty spooky mons against him that can do some nice work. Like I said, extremely volatile matchup. I could have brought any combination of these 12. I really could have. And Jolt could have brought any combination of 11. And I do want to say this is probably the most prep I've done for a league battle in my entire career. I probably had about 10 mock battles, and I saw a combination of 6 with every single one of these Pokemon. I've seen every single one in a mock battle, so I'm prepared for pretty much anything. I had suspicions to what kind of sets Jolt would bring, but I know that nobody preps quite like Jolt. He's very creative. He's not outside of the box creative, but he's smart creative, if that makes any sense. It probably doesn't. But he preps very well, and I knew that I would have to prep equally or better than him to come out on top, since it was such an even matchup in my opinion. So that's enough rambling. Let's get on to the team and then on to the battle afterwards. So the 6 Pokemon I'm bringing are Crocodile, Jirachi, Licky, Torkoal, Megalodios, and Terrakion. So we are repping the Carney squad over here, as well as the nice lizard core. So we've got a pretty interesting array of mons. I think this is my top 4 Pokemon and then like my bottom 2 Pokemon in tier wise, so that's pretty fun. First off, we have Crocodile, Crooked Smile with the Chople Berry, Intimidate with Knockoff, Stealth Rock, Taunt, EQ, Max Attack, 56 in Defense with 200 in Speed, Jolly Nature. The speed is there to outrun Max Speed Nidoking, because outrunning that thing is nice because Nidoking is a very big threat to the team. It's something that I have difficulty switching into depending on his coverage, and having a way to hard check it is nice. I mean, he could be running a Shuka Berry, but if he's running that, then Life Orb, he's not hitting nearly as hard, and I don't think he can possibly 2-hit KO my Licky. Or threaten out my Latios. So that's a thing. This set is mainly here to prevent them. If he brings Mandibuzz as his Defogger, which I know he's going to bring Defog, then I can Stealth Rock against it all day, because I can taunt it, I can Stealth Rock it, I can get rid of its leftovers and slowly wear it down, and I can pass wishes into this thing because I am bringing the double wish core. This is also a very nice check to Metagross, to Doublade, and it does give me an emergency check to Lopunny, since I can Intimidate it, drop its attack, and then take a hit with... I can take a return plus a high jump kick from full if I have it intimidated because of my Chople Berry, which is really cool. And also having the Intimidate utility, if I pivot it in, will allow my defensive mons to take care and chew its hits a lot easier. So I really do value that Intimidate. Unfortunately, Metagross cannot be intimidated because of Clear Body. That would have been really nice, because if I could drop its attack, then I could deal with it much better, because Metagross is probably the biggest threat to my team, that and Lopunny in my opinion, because Metagross does have the potential to just 2-hit KO everything, which is insane. Other notes on this, let's see. Not really. It's like a check to Talonflame a little bit, because I can taunt it and stuff, and Taunt's just a nice utility for this match. And I'm gonna try and speed this up because, spoilers, this battle is incredibly long. And just one more thing, in mons that I dumped this into defense and not HP so I could get more % back from wishes, so that's the thing. Next, I've got my first answer to Lopunny, which is the recipe, my Jirachi. I'm running a Rocky Helmet with Serene Grace, of course, Wish Protect, T-Ball, and Moonblast. Max HP, 188 in defense and 68 in speed def. This defense investment allows me to take 2 high jump kicks from Jolly Lopunny after rocks, and I believe an Adamant Lopunny. It's questionable whether he'll bring Drain Punch or High Jump Kick. Knowing that I do have 3 mons that can reliably Wish Pass, I don't know if he'll want to risk having High Jump Kick, but he definitely can, because it's a mon that can force switches and then do huge damage to my team. So this thing is not 2-hit KO by the Lopunny, which is nice. I have Thunderbolt and Moonblast as my coverage, which does his team pretty well. It's resisted by Nidoking, which is not great, but I can drop its special attack. And one of the things I really like about Moonblast is that I do have a 60% chance to drop my opponent's special attack, which really allows me to wall his special attackers better. This is also a nice check to Latios, because Draco Meteors just bounce off this thing. Obviously, it can run Shadow Ball or even Earthquake, which Shadow Ball's going to do more, which will do a pretty penny of damage, but I do have my Licky, which can take it on even better. So next we have Goldmember, the Licky. I'm running lefties with Oblivious, with Wish Protect, once again, Dragon Tail and Flamethrower. I messed around with both Rachi and Licky's move sets a whole lot. It took me a long time to finalize the sets that I was bringing, but I do think these are the best. Wish Protect, of course, because I do like having safe wishes. Obviously, it limits my coverage, but that's okay. Dragon Tail and Flamethrower with max HP, 24 in defense, 16 special attack, and 216 speed def with the Calm Nature. So what is this spread trying to do? First and foremost, this special defense investment is going to allow me to take hits from Nidoking very, very well. If he has Focus Blast or Superpower, it could get a little bit hairy, but it's unlikely that he's going to bring Nidoking. I mean, he can bring it, but I can definitely see why he would not. And if he's running a Berry, which is also very possible, then I'm taking the hits easily from it, and I can offensively check the Nidoking with my team, because I do have the Crook and I do have the Latios and even Terrakion to an extent. So So Wish Protect's great. The special attack investment is there so that I can 3-hit KO the Doublade with Flamethrower, which is big so that it can't freely set up against me. I did not want to allow too many things on my team that the Doublade could set up against because that was a very big threat. And this defensive core right here, it walls a fair bit of things, but things like Power Up Punch, Lopunny, Swords Dance, Doublade, Metagross, all are still very, very big threats to it. So I needed a third component to my defensive core to make sure that I could handle everything without any one of my defensive mons getting overloaded, so I didn't have to sack my offensive mons, because if I did that, then I'd lose. So we got Puff Smash the Torkoal as the third component to my defensive core. Now this is a really cool set. Shout out to Zazo for telling me to run it, basically, because I had a Roserade in the slot and my team could get overwhelmed by a really offensive stacked team and stuff. So Torkoal running the Rocky Helmet, Drought is the ability, Solar Beam, Flamethrower, Toxic, Rock Slide, max HP 232 in defense with the Relaxed Nature, and 28 in special attacks. So the 28 in special attack is to allow me to 2-hit KO the Lopunny with Flamethrower and 2-hit KO some variants of Azumarill with Solar Beam. So that's really cool. This is a great check to pretty much all of his physical attackers. Doublade cannot do anything to this, even if it has Rock Slide, which I don't think he'll bring. Talonflame cannot touch me. Metagross has difficulty 2-hit KOing this, Azumarill has difficulty 2-hit KOing this, and Lopunny has difficulty 2-hit KOing this. And while Torkoal can definitely get worn down, one, I do definitely think that him not bringing rocks is an option, because my team is not very Stealth Rock weak, and he's probably going to be wanting coverage on his Metagross and Nidoking, which are his only 2 Stealth Rockers, by the way. It's very possible that he'll prefer to have coverage moves instead of being able to lay up rocks. So if he doesn't bring those, that's very beneficial, because Torkoal can come in that much easier. And this is a great pivot. If I have a Wish in the air, then this thing will pretty much never die. As long as I can steadily pass wishes into it, then I should be able to keep his Lopunny and his Doublade and his Metagross in check. And Toxic is a great option to catch the Latias mainly, also to Toxic the things like the Electros and the Gastrodon, I guess, and Mandibuzz. So this thing has a lot of utility. It's a nice check to Whimsicott. Obviously having Rapid Spin would be nice, but I don't expect him to bring hazards necessarily. And if he does, my team isn't that rocks weak and I still can pass wishes into Torkoal. So having the double wish pass is exceptionally helpful for this Torkoal, because it's got such good defense stats that its only crux normally is not having recovery, but when I have 2 Wish Passers with good HP stats into a base 70 HP stat, this thing is getting a lot of health back, and this was just the glue I needed to make sure that I was not going to get offensively overwhelmed. So that's my 3 defensive mon, and let's go back into offense. So here, this next mon, my Mega Latios, is the biggest threat to his team. Now I'm running Mega Latios, Lizard Wizard, I love that nickname by the way, Shadow Ball, Dragon Dance, Psychic, and Thunderbolt, 96 in HP, max special attack, Modest Nature, and 160 in speed. So this set is very interesting. Obviously, I could have ran Max and Speed Type with his Latias, but I really didn't want to do that. And the reason why is I'd much rather be able to invest in some bulk so I can take hits from his defensive mons and be able to hit them hard. And I really loved the damage output that Modest provided, because a Modest Mega Latios with that nice 160 special attack stat hits so hard. And while I can outspeed or speed tie with the Latias, I'd rather underspeed and play accordingly instead of having to worry about speed ties every time, because I'm pretty confident that Jolt will try and speed tie with this. So I'm totally fine being slower than it, because I do have 2 very good switch-ins to Latias. And I don't think he's going to bring offensive. So the speed is there to outrun a max speed Nidoking, which is his next fastest thing after Latias, which is great for me. I love that speed drop. And Shadow Ball, Psychic, Thunderbolt absolutely throttles his team. Depending on what he brings, his entire team could get 2-hit KO'd by this, and that's just incredible. This thing hits his team so hard. So one of my goals in this game is to just get this thing in as much as possible and wear down on his team. And Dragon Dance is the tech on this set, because if his team is weak in late game, I set up the Dragon Dance, and while I don't gain anything from the attack boost, I get that speed boost and I outspeed his whole team, Nick's like Scarf Latias, and then I can just sweep him and destroy him, and that's cool. And yeah, Latios, it's so good in this matchup. It's so powerful, and even though he has 2 things that are really nice to take my Psychic and Dragon Stab and the Doublade and the Metagross. Psychic plus Shadow Ball can just straight knock those things out, depending on their spread. Like, if Metagross is AV, then I have to click Shadow Ball twice, but unless Doublade is max Spadef, Psychic into Shadow Ball just kills it, which is insane. So this thing, absolutely huge threat. And also this is a check to Azumarill, Belly Drum, a +6 crit Aqua Jet cannot knock me out after rocks, which is really cool. That's one of the reasons why I had Latios, because Belly Drum and Azumarill would kind of destroy this team. So this was a necessary offensive check to it. So yeah, and last mon is, I'm slower than everything, so I needed a Choice Scarfer, and I did think Choice Scarf Terrakion was the best bet as a way to keep the Lopunny in check, because I really didn't want to be in a situation where my defensive mons were too weakened and my Latios was too weakened and Crook were too weak to take a hit, and if I didn't have a way to outspeed the Lopunny, then I would be in for a bad time, because this also is a check to Talonflame and Choice Scarf, Close Combat EQ, Stone Edge, X Scissor, Max Attack Adamant, 80 in defense, and 176 speed. That's enough to outrun a timid Nidoking if it's Scarf, because Scarf Nidoking is a very viable option. So, Close Combat EQ, Stone Edge hits his team very hard. X Scissor is for reliable damage on the Latias in case I need to hit that thing very hard for some damage. So this revenge kills the Lopunny, but the unfortunate thing is that he does have the Doublade that hard walls this thing. So that's going to be difficult, but because I do have the Torkoal, which can just easily switch into it, I have Crook that switches into Doublade well, I'm not that scared of that situation. As long as I just play my cards right, then I should be okay. So that's the team. Let's get into the battle, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so here we are at the battle, and I'm going to just preface this. This battle is extremely long, so in the really long, monotonous stretches of this match, I will be editing it and speeding it up and things like that, so I'll just let you know how that's going, because this game, yeah, insanely long, like ridiculously long of a match. But looking at the team matchup, he brought Lopunny, Electros, Talonflame, Metagross, Doublade, and the Latias. Some interesting things he didn't bring. Obviously, not seeing the Mana Buzz is nice. So that means that the Latias is going to be his defogger, which means that he's probably not running CM Latias, which could have definitely been a big threat to this team. So yeah, that's really nice. Talonflame is a big threat, whether it's a defensive set or an offensive set. However, if he is running the Stall Breaker Talonflame, then my Licky Licky will be able to take it on, because Oblivious means I'm immune to Taunt. Obviously, he brought the Lopunny, but I do have my 2 Rocky Helmet users and my Intimidate Mon, so I should be able to pivot around it as long as I keep things healthy. He has the double Steel Core, so I'm definitely going to have to rely on Torkoal to be healthy a lot of this game. And Latios just absolutely destroys him, or Latios. So those are things to consider. Let's get on with it. My dedicated lead was always Crocodile, because if he led off with his Lopunny, then I could Intimidate it and then switch into my Jirachi or Torkoal. He's going to lead with Electros, and I'm just going to see what he's going to go for. I just go for the rocks, because it was possible he just U-turn or predict me in Volt Switch. And he goes for the Flamethrower, so that damage tells me that he is not offensive. So that's cool. Yeah, he has no special attack investment, which means Licky Licky should be able to just wall it. So I'm just going to go out into my Licky now and be able to take any hit. As he goes for the Flamethrower, it does 14. He burns me. He burns me turn 2, so that's very interesting. Thankfully, Burn got nerfed, so my Licky Licky's not going to be losing health, but having my lefties working well would have been great. So I'm just going to toss a Wish in the air as he goes for the Volt Switch, and now he's going to go out into his Metagross. Now, this is scary, but I have a Wish in the air, so I can freely switch into Torkoal, because I can take the hit and get my health back. So Torkoal's going to come out, and he is just going to fire off the Earthquake. He gets a crit, and it does 88% from a Life Orb thing, so that's pretty impressive to Torkoal's bulk, and I'm going to be wished back up to a point of health. So I'm just going to click Flamethrower here. I don't want to mess around with this thing, as he does go out into his Latias. So I know he's going to defog, so I'm just going to click Toxic to get status this thing. I miss. That's unfortunate. I will have more opportunities to Toxic it, but it still sucks that I missed. Now he's going to go out into his Talonflame here, which is interesting as I go into my Jirachi. So this is spooky. I'm just going to hard switch out into my Terrakion, because in my mind his plays were to go for the Flare Blitz or to set up. So having a direct offensive answer to it was the thing. But he shows Taunt, so that means most likely he is a bulky variant, which is definitely has the possibility to extend this game out, because it's hard to kill. And one thing I have to note is that I was very scout heavy early in this game, because since I have a very pivot-based team, I have to know what kind of sets he has so I can switch and pivot and wish and all that accordingly. So I'm going to switch out now because there's no way he's going to leave his Talonflame in, and I'm just going to go into Torkoal here because he's likely going into the Doublade. So I am going to catch that, which is nice, and now I'm going to predict his Latios to come in, so I'm just going to click Toxic here, and I do hit it this time, which is great. This Latios does not show, it doesn't have lefties. I don't know what item it is. I'm assuming it's probably like Kaban Berry or something like that. And I'm just going to go into my Licky Licky because I'm assuming it's a support set, and the damage off the Flamethrower earlier actually did show that he was max HP, and I'm assuming that he's also going to be max speed, so that means Licky Licky should hardwall this thing. So I'm just going to throw another Wish in the air, I'm pretty sure, as he does go into his Lopunny. If I went for the Flamethrower, I would have gotten some really nice damage, but getting a Wish in the air is just as good because now I can go into Torkoal and heal it back up, which is great. And he is going to opt to Mega Evolve, of course, he's not going to double out, and he's going to show Baton Pass. So that's very interesting. He could be Sub Pass, he could be Power Up Punch Pass. Those would all be scary things. He's going to go into his Talonflame here and make a really smart play and scout for my Rock Slide by going into his Metagross. So that was a really smart play in Jolt's part. However, I can take an EQ, and I just want to kill this Metagross. And I ran the calcs, and I had a very good chance to knock him out with the Flamethrower, and I do get a potential roll. Well, it was a roll no matter what, but I got it, so that's cool. The EQ does a lot of damage, but it's nothing I can't heal Wish up because none of his physical attackers can knock me out from here unless he is Adamant Lopunny with High Jump Kick. So that's really cool. And I'm really glad that I have two defensive mons because right now, if he was Adamant Lopunny, I'd probably just lose because he would just knock out my Torkoal. So he goes for the High Jump Kick. That's jolly damage, and he's going to go for it again. He gets a lower roll, so that's definitely jolly. If he was Adamant there and he got a low roll on the first one, and which was possible, then a higher roll on the second one would have knocked out my Jirachi, but that's not the case, so I'm going to be able to Wish up, and here I could be aggressive and click Moonblast or Thunderbolt or something, but my play here is to just go for the Protect. I don't want to mess around with it, because if he just stays in and kills me, then that would be an enormous choke, because I need Jirachi to take on his team. So he's going to go back out into his Talonflame, Baton Pass, really good bring on his part, so he could pivot on my Wishmons, and he is just going to go for the Brave Bird as I go into my Latios because I knew I could take the hit, and this is a thing that can potentially scare him out. So I'm going to get my Mega up, and I'm just going to go for the Psychic because if he went into like a Assault Vest Electros, that would have done stuff and things. And Psychic into Shadow Ball would have knocked out his Doublade unless he was max Spadef. And that Psychic shows me that he is an extremely specially defensive Talonflame. He's not max special defense, so I'm just assuming that he's speed creeping on my Latios because that would make sense. And he is just going to opt to burn me. That's annoying because I don't have Roost, but I can Wish into this, and it's looking like I can Wish up against this Talonflame and potentially against his Electros depending on his set. So Psychic does not do enough to the point where I'm comfortable staying in and just spamming Psychic. So I'm going to switch out. I should be able to switch into this. Licky Licky is at a point where I can take two Brave Birds from the thing. So I'm just going to go into it as he is just going to opt to Roost up here. And now here's where having Oblivious is extremely useful because he's going to try and taunt me forgetting that I am Oblivious, and that's not going to work. So I'm just going to be able to Wish up, and I have the opportunity to protect myself. I can Dragon Tail, I can Flamethrower, I don't remember what I do, and he's going to go out into his Electros. So I'm going to go into, my Torkoal because I really wanted to get this thing healed up. So I'm going to get Torkoal back to full health, which is fantastic. So he's going to go for the Flamethrower, and I'm just going to click Toxic here because I did think he was a, I thought he could potentially be, I thought he was Assault Vest, basically. And Toxic is going to allow me to wear it down very nicely. And he could have gone into the Latios, but I can deal with the Latios, and Toxicing this thing was nice. So I take a little damage with the Flamethrower, and I believe I can just go back out into my Licky Licky because even in the sun, two Flamethrowers can't knock me out, and Volt Switch does absolutely no damage. And he does get another switch back into his Lopunny, but what I can do here is just click Protect, see if he's going to go for the High Jump Kick. And then he reveals Cosmic Power, so he is a Cosmic Pass offensive Lopunny, which is a really cool bring and really scary because him Cosmic Passing into stuff like Latios or Doublade is spooky. So basically here I have to sack him on now because, let's see, Torkoal took damage, so it's going to be 2-hit KO'd by High Jump Kick, and Jirachi is at half. So what I have to do here is get the Intimidate off on this Lopunny so that I can heal up my Jirachi. So unfortunately I have to sack Crook, but there's really no other play I could make because there's nothing else on my team that I would be okay with sacking. So that play gets me, but I was not expecting the Cosmic Power. But now that I've dropped his attack, I can just wish up with my Jirachi, and it's cool beans. So he's going to go into his eel right here, and while it does have boosted defenses, I am totally fine with just stalling this thing out. I do not care. So I'm just going to protect as he's going to go for the flamethrower, and I'm at full health, so I know I can chew this, and I'm just going to click Moonblast and try and get the drop, and then just wish stall him, basically. So, no, I'm going to wish again here, because I don't want to mess around. He's going to flamethrower, and it does no damage. It does absolutely nothing, so I'm just going to Moonblast and go for the drops to make sure it does even less. I'm not going to get here, but then he pulls out the rest, so that was very interesting. So now I've seen Volt Switch, Flamethrower, Rest, and I'm assuming because he doesn't have a Cleric and because he doesn't want to lose all momentum, this is Rest Talk, which means that Latios is a completely free switch into it. So I can Wish Pass into Latios anytime this thing is in, which is cool, and he is going to pull the Volt Switch out of a Sleep Talk, so that was a really cool bring, and I'm just going to switch out and go back into Torkoal Heal here because I can heal it back up, and this is where things start to get very, very circuitous because basically my plays are to try and get Latios in, try and get damage off on his team, and just kind of chip away at things, and this is where the game just takes a very, very long drag through the dirt. So at this point in the match, I'm just going to start. I'm going to speed through this and just kind of comment on very important turns and just kind of tell you what my general thought process and what I was trying to do throughout this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and just let this record, and then I'll edit over it. So yeah, that was like the exciting part of the battle until like the last bit, but this is going to go on for a while, so grab some popcorn, kids, and I'll see you guys in about 40 turns when some interesting stuff happens. Oh, he does get the burn, so yeah, Jolt's a lucky bitch and stuff, but it's fine. So yeah, we'll be back. Hi, yeah, it's me. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you basically how this whole shebang is going to go down and what both of our perspectives are on trying to win this game. So how Jolt is trying to win is his pretty much only ways to win are to bank on me choking and letting my Torkoal get weakened to the point where he can sweep me with his Doublade, or in conjunction with him stalling me out of wishes. So if he stalls me out of wishes, he can win. However, my way of winning is basically I need to get a Thunderbolt Para on his Talonflame, and I've got a 20% chance to do so, and my Jirachi can freely spam T-Bolt against the Talonflame because it does not have a Fire Stab to hit me with. So once I am able to get the T-Bolt Para, or if I am able to, on a Talonflame, then I can win the game with my Latios. However, if I cannot get that and he manages to stall me out of all of my wishes, then he will be able to stall me out because Jirachi and Licky Licky will eventually just, they will just lose to Talonflame and Latios because I won't be able to do enough damage, and he can just pivot all day long between Electros, Latios, and Talonflame. So that's kind of how this thing is going. I have to get my Torkoal healthy, and I have to apply pressure with my Latios and get his Talonflame paralyzed. So that's it, and see ya. Okay, so here's one play worth noting. This was a misplay on my part because here I throw up the Wish, and I'm going to go out in my Terrakion, just predicting him to Brave Bird here, and he is going to go for the Will-O-Wisp. So I'm not sure if that was a prediction of the Terrakion or just trying to save his Brave Bird PP, but it's a bad play on my part because now my Terrakion is burned, which is unfortunate. However, it's not the end of the world because his Lopunny is in range of a close combat even if I'm burned. So it was a stupid play, but at this point it did not matter that much. So yeah, dumb play, but I should still be able to deal. So continue back to the music. Okay, so right here is where the tides of this battle have finally turned. At 108 turns, after probably about 10 Thunderbolts, no, probably a lot of Thunderbolts, I finally get the 20% paralysis chance off the Serene Grain T-Bolt. And because I paralyzed his Talonflame, now I am in the driver's seat, and this is where things can finally pick up. There's still more stalling to be had, but at this point, the end is now in sight because I have the ability to sweep with Latios because he can't get the fast roost off, so I can now 2-hit KO his Talonflame with my Latios, which is cool. I'm getting low on PP at this point with my wishes, so I have to kind of sort of get it done pretty soon. But here's another really important play is he's going to go for the Healing Wish. Now he goes and decides to get his Electros healed up, and had he healed his Talonflame and got rid of the para, then this game would have taken a lot longer because I would have had to spam T-Bolt against it until I paralyzed it again. So him losing Latios is really good because one, Amon finally dies, and two, he now doesn't have a switch into Torkoal, which is really cool. As you can see, Flamethrower did a whole bunch of damage, and Torkoal is now the win condition. And if I didn't explain it in the speed up thingy, basically my way to win the game at this point is to keep Torkoal above range of any one hit. Now he's going to go for the Cosmic Power, and I believe right here I'm going to make a pretty ballsy play and click Dragon Tail as he went for the return. I did not want him to pass that Cosmic Power. That would have been the end of me, so I thought that was a pretty nice play on my part. And now I'm going to be able to wish up, and I believe here, yeah, I'm going to just switch into my Torkoal and get it back up to health. At this point in the game, I do not need my Licky Licky anymore because his Latios is dead, and I can switch into his I can deal with his Electros because I can kill it now with 2 hits. And he is going to miss killing my Torkoal by 1%. It was not a roll. I don't believe. I forget the roll, but I don't think I had a chance to die to that. If I did somehow, then that would have sucked, but hey. So I'm going to get my Torkoal back up to health, and this puts me in a fantastic spot. And now here is a really big play. I think this was probably the play that sealed the game, was I decided to not let his Lopunny high jump kick my Torkoal. Had he kicked my Torkoal, then I would have been in range of 2 hits from his Doublade, and I could have potentially lost to the Doublade. So opting to sack Licky Licky was the optimal play there, because as long as I have Torkoal above range of 2 hits from his Doublade, then I win the game, basically. And here I'm going to make another aggressive play. He knows that I've been wishing turn 1 this entire time, so his play is to bank on that and get up a Cosmic Power and most likely try and pass it into his Doublade. Possibly Talonflame could have worked too, but I'm going to predict that and click Moonblast. So now his one big offensive threat is gone, and that is huge. So the game is finally coming to an unraveling point, and now I'm going to go into my Terrakion. Basically, I want to force out the Doublade and make sure that he can't go into his Talonflame or something like that. I forget exactly what I was trying to do here, but I'm just going to click Stone Edge and get damage off, and this basically forces him into his Doublade or for him to sack off his Electros, and he's going to get Sleep Talk, Roll Volt Switch, and now he is in range. His Electros cannot switch into any of my Mons now, which is really good. He's going to go for the Sacred Sword as he predicts my Torkoal. He gets a crit and it does 21%, so Torkoal actually tanks this, and he's actually Jolt's making some plays now. Goes into Talonflame predicting the Flamethrower, but at this point I believe I can just switch into my Latios. Yeah, no, I'm going to go into Jirachi as he does make the nice prediction of going for this, and here is the point where the game is going to end because I go for the Wish. So what's going to happen here is he has 3 Pokemon that die to Latios now. So I go for the Wish, and I knew that Flamethrower plus the Burn was going to be able to knock me out in the sun. So I get up the Suicide Wish, and now I bring in my Latios, and the game ends because I click Psychic, knock out his Electros, I get the health back, and now all I have to do is click T-Bolt twice against his Talonflame. He can't Roost Stall me now that he is paralyzed, and he does get the full para here. It didn't matter because he would still have been in range of a Thunderbolt, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to Shadow Ball, and all he has left is Doublade, and there's no way that his Shadow Sneak is going to be able to knock me out. And I do have Torkoal in the back, as you can see. Shadow Sneak did 28%, so my HP investment helped out there, and I knock out his Doublade, and the game finally ends. 134 turns to get the 3-0 victory versus Jolt. Apparently, this is the longest game in NPL history, which is, I'll believe it. This game took forever. This was an hour and a half. This was an hour and a half of banging my head against the table, clicking wish. Obviously, in the middle portion of this game, I think I kind of, I definitely could have been more aggressive in the middle and gotten more momentum into my Latios, but in my mind, I knew that I had to get Talonflame paralyzed, and after that, then I could sweep with Latios, because it would have been very difficult to maneuver myself into a position where I could Dragon Dance up against the Latios and then knock 2-8 KO the Talonflame and still be outside of range of Doublade's Shadow Sneaks. So a lot to consider there, and this was a very, very long match. It was a very good match. Jolt got pretty lucky in this game. He burned like half my team off flamethrowers, which was very annoying, but I was able to, rise above it and still catch a nice juicy 3-0 victory. So that's going to be my first win in the NPL, which I am very happy with. Beating Jolt is nothing to scoff at. He's a fantastic player, and he's a perennial good player in person and stuff, so I'm stoked about this win, not stoked about how long it took, and it was a very nice New Year's present to give Jolt a nice 134 turn 3-0 loss. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. I know I didn't. This was an awful battle to do, and I listened to the same song for the entire time. It was very soothing, but have you ever tried listening to the same song for an hour and a half? It's interesting. I'm gonna end it here because this video is going to be relatively long, though I did do my best to speed this thing up because I was not going to narrate through like 70 turns of me just wish passing circularly. So with all that said, hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, leave a comment, and I will see you guys next week for week 3, where we take on Carney and his Vancouver Stealth Rocks. Bye.